maybe a two-part of it. I'm just wondering about, in yesterday's presentation, as I understood it, you sort of referenced that there in fact may be a benefit to there being the extension to 4 months. You talked about international data as well as from Canada talking about a benefit to extending the dose, the second dose, to 4 months. So do I understand correctly? Not only may this be a compromise that's necessary, but one that may come with benefits. And I don't know if you're also able to answer. You mentioned end of June is when everyone may have a first shot by now, which seems like it's even more positive than yesterday's news.
Well, if we look at just Moderna and Pfizer and what the amounts that were scheduled to receive, assuming everything goes as planned, it will actually be mid-July. But with the addition of AstraZeneca and perhaps soon the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as well, we may be able to move that up. So I was probably slightly over-optimistic, but we are looking at July. And yes, we know from immunology that the booster dose, the timing of the booster dose can sometimes confer additional benefit in terms of the strength of the immune response, particularly the cell-mediated immunity, and have a prolonged benefit in how long the response lasts. And we know this from other vaccine programs, particularly hepatitis programs, hepatitis A and hepatitis B, when we find that if you increase the interval, if you give it too soon, we know this from immunology and from vaccine science for a long time. If you give it too soon, your body's immune system just doesn't recognize it as something new. It's just a little bit of a bump, a stimulus of the first dose that you got. But if you extend it a period of time that's up to 6 months, for some things it can be as long as a year, but 6 months is a usual one, then you can get a more durable and longer lasting protection. We don't know that for sure yet. These are all new vaccines, and we've only been monitoring them for now close to 5 months for some of the vaccines from the clinical trials, etc. So those are things that we still have yet to determine, and those are the things that we're going to be watching, and we're going to be watching what happens. There's a mix and match study, as we call it, going on in the UK. So starting with one vaccine, looking at different dose intervals, giving a second dose with a different vaccine to see if any one of those combination gives you longer lasting and better protection. So all of this stuff is new, and we're going to be learning as we go over the next few months. But we are confident in the decisions we've made right now, and we're going to know a whole lot more by the time we get to June and July.
Next question is from Justine Hunter, Globe and Mail.
Hi, thanks. Dr. Henry, I spoke with Dr. Mona Niemer today as well, and she's essentially calling on you to show your work. Don't just say that the data supports this change, but show us. And I'm just wondering if you're able to release some of the data that you based this decision on for the 4 months gap instead of, say, 3 months, which is kind of what you've been talking about before this week.
So we did present the data. Danuta Skowronski's published a paper. We've got it on the BC CDC website about the vaccine effectiveness. Quebec as well has published their vaccine effectiveness data going out for a number of weeks. There's data that's published in the New England Journal. There's pre-publications that we were able to see some of the data from the UK, and the National Advisory Committee on Immunization has examined those data in detail as well. So I am not obviously at liberty to publish that. There are some papers that have been in the literature right now from Israel, plus we've had meetings with them. So there is BC data that we are absolutely out there publishing, and I know Dr. Skowronski and her team have put a number of it up on the BC CDC website, and others are in publication now. But all of those data were examined by our immunization committee and by the National Advisory Committee on Immunization.
Follow-up, Justine?
Yeah, thanks. You said NACI will be coming out with a statement shortly. Is that today, or do you have an idea? Because I know a number of provinces are saying they want to wait and see what NACI advises before they upgrade their policies. Obviously, some interest in getting more people vaccinated sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm afraid you're going to have to ask them. I know it is imminent is the closest I can say. And that was obviously a topic of discussion by our Council of Chief Medical Officers of Health on our call on the weekend and again today.
Can you offer further detail into the instructions to health authorities this week, Island Health, for instance, on when they must cancel the second doses and for whom they are canceling the second doses? For example, I guess people in long-term care. And is the idea to turn some of those second dose clinics that are canceled into first dose clinics for others?
Yeah, so as you know, the discussions around this have been ongoing as the evidence has been building over the last week, really, when the studies from the BC CDC, from Quebec, and the National Advisory Committee on Immunization was meeting last week. So we did have discussions about this over the weekend. We had discussions about, is there some people where you should make sure they have a second dose for their own individual protection? And really the data showed us that even those most vulnerable, people in long-term care homes, had that really high protection after a single dose. So it was felt by the immunization team that there is no need for anybody right now to need that second dose, and that we needed to stop them as of when we made the decision yesterday. And so every dose today that would go to a second dose is now going to protect an additional person in our community in the high priority groups. So the decisions were made to pivot across the board because there is no evidence that suggests that one person more than another needs that small bit of individual protection, and we do better by everybody by spreading those doses to other high-risk people. So that was the direction given to all health authorities, and some clinics were switched to instead of having people come in for second doses, they were able to bring people in for the same vaccine to protect more people in that community. And I know that's happened in a number of communities, but it a little bit depended on logistics.